New Year's Eve, 1977. President Jimmy Carter stands in a glittering palace in Tehran, toasting the Shah as a leader of an island of stability in one of the more troubled areas of the world. He spoke of deep personal gratitude and a friendship between nations that seemed unshakable. He had no idea that in just 8 days, the first fires of a revolution would be lit that would not only destroy the Shah's monarchy, but also consume his own presidency. To understand how that island of stability sank so quickly, we have to look past the headlines of 1979. We have to look back at a secret room in the CIA in 1953, a radical religious shift in 1501, and a civilization that has spent 2,500 years building a fortress.
To truly understand Iran, you must first understand its walls. Geography made Iran a bridge and a gatekeeper long before modern politics existed. It is a natural fortress, guarded by the massive Zagros Mountains to the west and the Alborz Range to the north. This high, rugged plateau is a land that has survived invasions by Greeks, Mongols, and Turks, always absorbing its conquerors rather than being erased by them. Because of this, Iranians possess a civilizational memory that is thousands of years old, viewing themselves not just as a nation, but as a distinct and ancient world. But this world was fundamentally reshaped by what many historians call the original sin of modern Iranian history, Operation Ajax. In 1951, Iran had a democratically elected prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. He was an educated, secular leader who wanted one thing: for Iran to control its own oil, which was then almost entirely owned by the British. When Mossadegh nationalized the oil industry, the British and the CIA orchestrated a coup in 1953 to topple him and reinstate the Shah with absolute power. This moment destroyed Iranian democracy in its infancy and turned the Shah, in the eyes of his people, into a Western puppet. It created a deep, simmering resentment that the West was not a partner, but a predator.
As the Shah used his oil billions to modernize the country at breakneck speed, he created a paradox. He educated a new generation of youth, but failed to give them a voice. He built factories and skyscrapers, but ignored the traditional merchants of the Grand Bazaar. He threw a $300 million party in the desert to celebrate 2,500 years of Persian monarchy, while his people faced rising inflation and a housing crisis. By the late 70s, a diverse coalition of Marxists, liberals, and students was ready to explode. They just needed a voice to lead them, and they found it in an elderly cleric living in exile, Ayatollah Khomeini. Khomeini was a master of the modern media. From a small house outside Paris, he used cassette tapes and the Western press to broadcast a message of anti-colonial justice. But he was also a theological revolutionary. Traditionally, Shiite clerics stayed out of politics, waiting for the return of a messianic figure. Khomeini innovated a concept called velayat-e-faqih, or the guardianship of the jurist. He argued that until the Messiah returned, the clerics themselves must run the state. This was a radical departure from 1,000 years of tradition, essentially merging religious and political authority into a single, unchallengeable office. When the revolution finally broke in 1979, the coalition that started it was quickly pushed aside. The clerics consolidated power, and the Islamic Republic was born. But even the name of the country itself carries a hidden history of conflict. In 1935, the Shah's father officially changed the name from Persia to Iran to claim a broader historical legitimacy. This move was actually decried by intellectuals in neighboring Afghanistan, who argued that the name of the total was being given to a part. They saw it as an attempt by the Persian state to monopolize a shared cultural heritage. Today, the regime that rose from those fires is no longer just a religious authority, it is a corporate empire. At the heart of this power is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC. While the regular army protects the borders, the IRGC is an ideological militia that has morphed into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. They control a third of the Iranian economy, from telecommunications to construction. This makes regime change incredibly difficult, because for those at the top, it isn't just a matter of faith, it's a matter of the bottom line.
However, the greatest threat to the Islamic Republic today might not be a protest or a foreign power, but the land itself. Years of mismanagement and corruption have left Iran facing a severe water crisis. In late 2025, the capital city of Tehran was warned it was on the brink of collapse due to shortages. This is an ecological catastrophe that a corporate military cannot shoot its way out of. Furthermore, because the regime rules in the name of Islam, its political and economic failures have led to what some call the Great Apostasy, one of the highest rates of people leaving the faith in the Muslim world. The tragedy of modern Iran is that it is a 2,500-year-old civilization currently trapped inside a 45-year-old political experiment. The Iranian people have lived through a century of forced modernization and forced religious conversion, yet their identity remains resilient. As they navigate a currency that has crashed 20,000 times over and a land that is literally running dry, the next chapter of their story may not be written by a cleric or a king. It will be a fight for the very survival of the fortress they have defended for millennia.